No one wants to wait around for a product or treatment to kick in and start working. And with the technology that's at the fingertips of the leading experts in the industry today, the waiting game may be over, or is it? The root of instant gratification actually stems from the spa industry. At one point in time, spas were the only sources of quick results. Where else could you go and have clean, glowing skin in just an hour? Or how about the instant fix a massage provides? Better yet, before the craze of anti-cellulite treatments, spas were the place for quick slimming and skin smoothing wraps and treatments. And while spas are still at the heart of instant results, it's no surprise that the beauty industry as a whole is now applying practices like these into mainstream products. New Beauty is the only national beauty magazine devoted to all things beauty, and it's with the mission of educating the consumer and separating fact from fiction that distinguishes us as a leader in the industry. One way in which we maintain our credibility is through our editorial advisory board, which is made up of board-certified doctors and beauty experts from around the country. Today we have with us two highly respected and well-regarded experts in the industry, one who is part of the New Beauty editorial advisory board. Both come from different fields. Dr. Kenneth Beer, an esteemed colleague, is considered to be at the top of his game, forever on the forefront of cosmetic dermatology, including of-the-moment lasers, injectables, and fillers. Art Pellegrino, who is the Vice President of Research and Development at Elizabeth Arden, has held numerous R&D positions throughout the years within the industry. He has worked with popular beauty brands like Bath & Body Works, Victoria's Secret beauty brands, and Johnson & Johnson. Both Dr. Beer and Mr. Pellegrino are here to help guide us through the ever-expanding and oftentimes confusing world of beauty, for a better understanding of what instant gratification really means, how it can be attained, the effects, and what it holds for the future of the industry. So now, without further ado, it's time to turn to the experts and learn more about this exciting trend of instant beauty results. So first, I'm going to pose this question to you, Art. Tell me a little bit about what you think is the #1 concern in terms of beauty of today's consumer. What would you say they're constantly looking for, and why do they desire instant results when it comes to products and treatments?
Did I turn? Oh, there we go. Well, it's interesting. If you look at the quantitative data, it's actually simpler than you would expect it to be. Things like moisturization and sun protection really still pop out as the top concerns that women have. But I don't think instant gratification ever stops, even in those basic fundamental types of benefits. Women want to feel moisturized as soon as they start using products, even when they know that the product is going to help, fix their moisture barrier over time. Women want reinforcement of whatever benefits they're looking for. Now that being said, of course, the higher order benefits, pigmentation, lines and wrinkles, lifting and firming, those are higher concerns, and they're higher concerns for different segments of women, and different segments of women think about them differently. There are women who consider high-end procedures, but there's a big segment of women who really aren't looking for those types of benefits, but still want to look their best. It breaks up into two sort of segments: one who are willing to do anything and want to look years younger, and others who want to look their best at their age. They're both great targets for us as consumers, but it's very important for us to understand how they think so that we can best develop products for them. And the idea of instant gratification is very different for them. For one, they're very close to stepping into the world of procedures, or they've already done so, and so their topical products should either work well to enhance those benefits or extend those benefits, or even simulate those benefits if they're not quite ready to take that step. And the other group is really more in skincare for the emotional aspects, the luxurious aspects of skincare, but yet they still want serious results. So when you think about instant benefits, you want to think about the whole gamut of benefits, from basic benefits like moisturization all the way to higher order benefits, but you also want to keep in mind the attitudes of your consumers, because that'll influence sort of where on that continuum of benefits that they're looking.
And Dr. Beer, you see a lot of patients in the office. So what would you say are some of the instant fixes that they're coming to you asking for?
I see a lot of instant fixes based on primarily wrinkles and pigment. So I think we can break things down into those two categories. And instant fixes for me relate not only to procedures such as lasers and injectables, but also products. And what we try and do is provide an instant benefit and then a sustainable benefit. So we try and combine the two. In my practice and in a lot of my colleagues' practices, instant benefits are things like injectables for wrinkles like Botox or Dysport, and lasers that plump the skin, get rid of cellulite, or even out the pigment. And depending on where you live and work, pigment can be a greater important instant gratification thing than wrinkles. So for sort of medium olive complected skin and darker, and for younger women, particularly in their reproductive years, we see pigment as a really big immediate gratification issue. So we split them between procedures and products, and we try and combine things that'll give you fewer wrinkles, like lasers and Botox, with things that'll improve your pigment, like lasers and some of the topicals.
Okay. So as an overarching category, would you say, Art, that instant is always better, or long-term results over an extended period of time are more beneficial?
Anytime I try to develop a topical product, I'm always after both. Because even if you're just giving your consumer a preview of the type of benefit they're going to see over time, you want, they do want to see some benefit immediately, but then you also want to have the real physiological benefit over time. We've gone now from the days of pigmentation products where you would put a little mica or something like that in the product just to give consumers some initial radiance while the active ingredient is working, to the point now where those optical systems are getting a lot more science-based. So to me, the approach is you have to be just as science-based for the instant result as you do for the long-term result, both from your ingredient selection, your technology selection, as well as your measurement capabilities. You can have a clinical study that says women felt this immediately and felt this over time. And I also like to combine clinical data with consumer data, because obviously women need to see the benefits, or else all the clinical studies in the world are not that relevant. So the approach we're now taking at Elizabeth Arden is to say, we've put a lot of science into anti-aging ingredients that work over time, and we should continue to do that. But now let's really put the same level of science into the immediate benefit. So as we looked at optics, as we look at things that plump the skin, as we look at polymers that tighten and lift, as we look at ways of masking dark circles, let's put as much science into those immediate benefits as we have into the longer term benefits, and tell consumers that there's credibility in both.
Okay. So Dr. Beer, Art touched on a few of the key ingredients that are used in topical skincare products that provide an instant result. What are some other ingredients that you're seeing in terms of anti-aging that also offer an instant benefit that are popular today?
It's interesting because there was a study shown maybe 15 years ago in the New England Journal of Medicine using something very simple, which is Retin-A, and it showed that if you put Retin-A on your arms for 9 months, a lot of the age spots disappeared. Now, Retin-A is a prescription in the US, but retinol and retinaldehyde are available to a lot of the spas and salons, and we include it in our products. And what we find is we try and stick with things that are proven. So in my products, we put in hyaluronic acid because it delivers an immediate volumization. It delivers moisture. We include botanical gums that firm on contact. so they feel much less wrinkles and the skin has a much more firm and youthful appearance. And as Art mentioned, we also combine things that are more long-term. Even though the information about retin-A and retinaldehyde and retinol is out there, patients, consumers, clients will not use something for 9 months. If they don't perceive a benefit within 3 weeks, we typically think that we've lost them. So we try and use things like hyaluronic acid, certain of the botanical extracts that will brighten the skin immediately, and things like hyaluronic that deliver moisture.
Okay. So there's all these different ingredients out there that can give an instant benefit. Are there certain formulations that they work better in, say a serum as opposed to a cream, or a mask that works on contact and has 8 hours worth of benefits? Tell me a little bit about the formulations that are in some of these products that give instant results and how those work. And I pose this question to both of you.
Oh, for me, some of the things that you want to do are better achieved in serum. If you want to deliver an active ingredient and you don't really need to provide a lot of moisture or barrier, you can put it in a serum. If you wanted to drive a lot of retinol or a lot of bleaching agent, serums tend to go deeper. If you use a cream, you have a little bit more of a barrier. We use creams for immediate hydration, for barrier protection. So if you're in a dry, low humidity environment, or you're in the winter time, we would switch people to creams primarily. And in a more humid environment in the summer, we would use serums. So some of it depends on the skin type, the humidity, and what you're trying to achieve. But we use some of everything.
Okay.
Yeah, it really, as Dr. Beer alluded to, it really depends on what benefit you're trying to achieve. One thing is the skin is capable of doing a lot of great things on its own. So a lot of times an occlusive barrier, almost like a wound protection ingredient, or for example, a lot of eczema products are literally barrier creams. If you allow the skin to be protected from the environment, you'll find that the skin can really do a lot of things very well on its own. And the other thing is, partially because of scientists trying to find better ways of achieving results, but also partially because marketers use delivery systems and different types of products as a way of introducing consumers to new benefits. We're lucky enough now to have a lot of nice options on the market. Serums, which were not prevalent 10, 15 years ago. Patches, which sort of have come and gone, but a patch is a really relevant way to deliver a benefit. Wipes, where you can cleanse your skin and leave behind a benefit. So we have a lot of arsenals in our toolbox now in terms of being able to meet both consumers' desire for different types of categories of products, as well as scientists' methods of achieving those results. And one other thing I wanted to talk about was, if delivery systems are really important, because you could test 5 different OTC acne products that all have 2% salicylic acid, or anti-itch products that have 1% hydrocortisone. I mean, we've actually done these studies and find that they work very differently simply because of the delivery system. So it's very important for companies to do more work, especially in the realm of OTCs, than to just put the monograph levels of ingredients in products, because the delivery system itself and the other benefits offered by the excipients in a formula can really matter in terms of delivering an overall benefit.
Okay, great. Let's talk a little bit about specific aging concerns for a minute. So the first signs of aging versus problems that are seen in more mature skin, like wrinkles and sagging. Is it better for the younger patient to take more of an approach and look for products and treatments that provide instant results? Or is it better for them to take an approach of long-term benefits? And then the same for the mature woman. somebody who has more mature skin? Again, instant results or long-term, which is better, and how can they go about finding a good plan for their skin type?
You know, when I talk about anti-aging, I always say the first place to look is right at the center of your face, your eyes. That's where you see the earliest, the first signs of aging. That's where you see the most signs of aging. That's where the most surgical procedures are taking place. That's where you've got all the signs of aging, dark circles, bags. So every woman in her 20s and 30s is starting to see something different happening with her eyes. It's either dark circles, bags, fine lines and wrinkles, crepiness. And so I would say that that's an important time to start thinking about prevention. You know, there's always this balance of prevention and correction. Women at that age should be protecting their skin. You know, we're trying to develop sunscreen products now that can be used close to the eyes, not be irritating, but offer that protection, antioxidant protection, and so on. But the instant benefit is important because you're seeing that first sign of aging, and you're oh my gosh, you know, I didn't look like this yesterday, and what can I do about it to get back? So at first we were looking at polymers and various agents, and it really was, you know, 10, 12 years ago was the early days of trying to find a single polymer that would give you the lifting and firming around your eyes that you're looking for. But unfortunately, it's a lot more complex than that. It's really mixtures of polymers that offer different types of lifting and firming and smoothing properties that are now just starting to get us to these types of instant benefits. And I truly believe that, you know, by sort of fixing the skin in place and minimizing, you know, the stresses that the skin, especially the delicate skin around the eyes, have, actually, that short-term benefit can actually provide you with a longer-term benefit, because a lot of the signs of aging you see around the eyes are due to the fact that the skin is thinner, it has less lipids, and it's subject to a lot more movement than the others. So I think that short-term fix sometimes can really provide a long-term benefit as well.
Okay. And Dr. Beer, your thoughts?
A lot of my patients, when they're younger, in their 20s and 30s, we look towards short-term benefits in order to stave off aging and prevent stuff. In older patients, we try and use more long-term because they have accumulated damage, and it's much harder to fix that. In younger patients, we try and get them to avoid things like smoking and sun exposure and things that are going to chew up their collagen and elastic fibers. But those are the people that don't have a lot of damage yet. And when we take ultraviolet pictures of them, we can see minimal damage. We give them some instant fixes, and they're great as long as they maintain prevention. Older patients, particularly the older ones that haven't been religious about skincare, sun protection, they require much more long-term commitment, and it takes a lot more effort and time and money to see a difference in their skin.
So there's a lot of prep treatments and products that are out on the market, and some of them are used for an in-office procedure or a spa treatment, or even to prep the skin for another product. Is there any validity behind some of these treatments, and do they offer quicker, better, more effective results at all?
Yes, I think now we're starting to see the use of topical products and procedures together a lot more than we did in the past. Dr. Beer alluded to pigmentation as being important now. If you're going to go in for laser treatment for pigmentation, it's important that you still have a nice foundation of a product that's going to, you know, slowly restore your pigmentation over time. And it's also important to use a good, effective sunscreen to really protect you from getting those pigmented spots. If you're going to go all the way to using a laser to get rid of your spots, you need a daily foundation of a good topical spot treatment as well as SPF protection. If you look at just about any procedure, a good skincare regimen whether it's protecting your skin from damage before and after a procedure. You know, sometimes procedures can cause irritation and redness. The last thing you want to do is go out in the sun or be exposed to other irritating elements. A good barrier is always an important thing to have whenever you're going to go in for a procedure. You know, the combination of retinoids and antioxidants and anti-inflammatories are always, you know, when used properly under the guidance of your physician, it can always help enhance and I think extend the benefits that you get. So I think more and more now you're seeing the topical products and the procedures being used to enhance, extend, and supplement procedural benefits.
Dr. Beer?
Yeah, I would echo that. With respect to doctors' offices, there are a lot of peri-procedural things that make a lot of sense. For the spa and the estheticians, we also find that some things like light chemical peels or microdermabrasion can increase the ability of certain preparations like antioxidants to get into the skin just by interfering with the barrier protection layer. So the little ampules that we use can work better. So if you're driving ingredients in, some of the things that are used beforehand will help them get in better. And some of them give the patient the immediate gratification that something was done. Mm-hmm. And sometimes just that perception will help them stick with the program and buy into it. So we've started to incorporate a lot more pre-procedure and post-procedure, and you guys will probably see several companies bringing out laser skin kits. So you use something for 3 weeks before, then for the week of the procedure, and then 3 weeks after. And in the medical dermatology business and the spa business, we're going to be sharing a lot of these people. So I think it's really important that the peri-procedural products achieve some of the attention that they're getting.
Okay. Is the skin able at all to build up a tolerance to any of these ingredients or formulations that provide instant benefits? Can you ever become immune to them, so to speak?
I think that in time, if you're using things like light acids, glycolic, lactic, other acids, over time your skin will thicken up and you may need stronger preparations. So it may take more for the same immediate shine or red hue. You may need a little bit stronger because your skin will adapt and evolve. But some of the other immediate gratification things probably will be fine, like microdermabrasion. You may need to use a little bit higher settings, but for the most part, I think they're very subtle. Okay. And at least in my practice, we don't really see a lot of tolerance.
Okay. Art?
Yeah, I also think it's important, you know, whether you're talking to a beauty advisor at the counter or you're at the spa or you're talking to your doctor, they're also able to understand how your skin is changing, understand how the procedures that may have worked a little bit more effectively in the past are changing, because it's not just the procedure over and over again, it's how your skin is changing as you age, or based on the climate that you're in, you know, your nutrition and so on. So there's so many things changing that it's hard alone to look at that without all the other variables. So I would say, you know, that's one of the reasons why, you know, if you go to a good spa where someone's really customized, you know, really understands different skin types and different procedures for different skin types to really give you the type of treatment that you need, I think you'll find that customization over time takes care of some of those other influences of some of those procedures maybe not being as effective as they once were.
Okay. So let's switch back to products and retail products in specific for a moment. When a product is being sold to a consumer either at a spa or a store, what would you say that counter reps look for to validate the claims of a product? And why is that information important to the consumer?
I think the counter reps look for the pedigree of the company and whether or not it's a company that has a history of innovation research and investment into the business. I think that most people are reluctant to do business with somebody that they don't know. On the medical side, it's kind of interesting because we as dermatologists, and I also have a spa, but we as dermatologists look towards scientific studies and data. And at least at this meeting, I'm starting to see a lot more of that than I've seen in some of the spa literature before. But at least my sense is they look towards the pedigree. I think all of us in the business would not want to jeopardize our reputation and our relationships with something that could get a client or a patient into a trouble or give them an allergic contact dermatitis or an irritation. So I think a lot of it is based on the credibility of the company and the people that they work with.
Okay. Art?
Yeah, I absolutely agree. You know, at Elizabeth Arden, we have a very large training group. It's one of the groups that's probably disproportionate in size relative to the size of our business, because it's so important for us to educate the counter reps and ultimately consumers in which products offer the right benefits for them. I mean, we have 2 anti-aging brands which work in very different ways. You know, it's just you may have nasal congestion, but it could be due to an allergy or cold or some other thing, and you're still trying to achieve the same benefit, even from the same starting point. But it's important for the counter reps to understand how to get from A to B. So you may have lines and wrinkles, you may have pigmentation. You know, could simply be because you're 45, 50 years old now and you're starting to lose some of those, you know, youthful properties of your skin, or it could be because you've been out in the sun since you were 5 years old playing golf. So it's important for us to educate the reps to understand who's walking up to the counter, what types of benefits they're looking for, but then also the right approach for what products are going to get them to the results that they want, because ultimately without that you're just going to disappoint your consumers if you sort of misdiagnose. So I would say our training, along with our reputation, and also really trying to educate consumers in how to fix their problem, not just, you know, here's the latest and greatest anti-wrinkle thing, but here's really how it works, and here's the scientific evidence to support it.
Marketing and advertising are a huge part of any business, and especially within the beauty industry, and this quest for instant gratification plays an enormous role. So how would you recommend consumers take this data that they see in print media or on TV and interpret it so that they're not misled to believe that a product can actually deliver results if it can't? How are they supposed to know what really works and what doesn't? Are there buzzwords to look for? Are there certain percentages that they should be aware of? Anything else that you would recommend to either a patient or a consumer as to what to look for when they're specifically going to purchase a product that promises to give a dramatic benefit in a short amount of time?
Well, I mean, what I like to look for when I look at products and evaluate them, and when I tell my patients, is look at what they're claiming, because these companies that claim things get into trouble pretty quickly if they're not substantiated. So if they claim an immediate 50% reduction in the appearance of fine lines and wrinkles, and it's by a major company or by somebody that has done the clinical data, on the bottom you'll see clinical data on file. So you should be able to look for that, and if you're really interested, I mean, you could call Elizabeth Arden and they have data that they'd be happy to supply you with. And the same holds true with, you know, Procter & Gamble, with Elizabeth Arden, with Clinique, with Aveda, with all of the major brands that you'll deal with. If you look on the bottom, you'll usually see data on file. So if you're really interested, you can look at that, call the company, go to their website. A lot of times the studies are on the website. The studies are very expensive to do, and they all have to be done in a very controlled manner. So the companies like to share the information, and they're pretty proud of it as well. They should be. So that's a really easy thing to do. If we're looking at immediate gratification, a lot of times we can measure that. We can measure it with photographic assessments of wrinkles and pigment. We can measure it with objective people. So we'll have an observer evaluate good, better, best, and then we'll look at the consumer and see what their evaluation of the product has been and use that as well.
And I would just complement that by saying, you know, again, as Dr. Beer said, the studies we do are very expensive. They're very, very good studies. They're published in peer-reviewed journals. They're published at Academy of Dermatology presentations in the United States, in Europe, in Asia, the World Congress. I mean, I've been involved in technologies, you know, for 20 years that have a very robust history of publication. The other thing that I would talk about is using consumer studies to supplement clinical studies. I mentioned this before. You know, if women see the difference and doctors see the difference, then I think you've got a really credible technology that's been translated into a very effective consumer beauty product. You know, it's great for doctors to measure benefits, but they can measure small benefits in statistical populations. You know, again, that's an important fundamental proof of efficacy of your product. But again, you know, there's ways of taking those great technologies and not delivering them in great ways where consumers end up seeing the benefits. You've got to make a product really enjoyable to use so that consumers use it consistently to see the long-term benefits. And you've got to provide the right aesthetics so that, not just good aesthetics, but the right aesthetics. If you're trying to achieve a certain benefit, there's an aesthetic that'll signal that benefit, that'll start to tell a consumer that this is working and encourage them to use it religiously so that they'll see the 4-week or 8-week benefit. So I think it's also this sort of 360 element of data and experience to provide the consumer you know, with all the information they need and all the experience they need to see the results for themselves. Because ultimately, you know, it's about their experience. You know, even if there was a clinical test with 100 women, it's all about one woman's experience.
The other thing is, a lot of the beauty editors are pretty sharp, and they'll pick products apart in short order. So you can pick up, you can pick up New Beauty and get a pretty good handle on what products are for real and what aren't, because they'll go ahead and vet these products before 20 dermatologists, and you know, they have a bunch of different ways. They use a product called the test tube. They'll send out 10,000 samples and they'll get information in real time. So, you know, there's a snapshot of information that a lot of people in the industry like to look at. So,
yeah,
it's an easy way to do it for us.
I would second that motion. I mean, when I first started talking to beauty editors 15 years ago, it was very different stories. The questions you get now, the connections that they have, the discussions they have amongst themselves as a community, whether it's here in the US, in the UK, in Europe, and in Asia, it's a whole different level of credibility. And again, I think this is a beauty magazine that really aims to be the best at being an advisor, I think not only for consumers, but for professionals as well.
So let's play a little game now, and it's called the Perfect Quick Fix. And I want you guys to let the audience know, based off of a few different problems, be it a product, a treatment, an ingredient, an in-office procedure, whatever it may be, what you feel is the best thing out there to provide a quick fix. So let's start with you, Dr. Beer, for wrinkles.
For wrinkles, the best thing right now are topical products, like some of the things that we're seeing that include ceramides, like some of the things that are including botanical extracts, skin brighteners, gums, and for me, I tend to use a lot of injectables. So Botox, Dysport are close to immediate. We can see results as quickly as 24 to 48 hours. Patients love that immediate gratification. I use a lot of fillers. I do a lot of what we call facial sculpting. So we'll fill lines, but we also reset cheekbones, nose, chin, temples, and we can do that in 30 minutes. So that's pretty immediate. Patients love that. So between the products that I offer in my office and the injectables, we have a pretty nice injectable facelift, and we like to tell people we can picture your face as a table where you have the structure, you have the surface, and then you have the tablecloth. With the technology available today, we can fix all three in a pretty immediate manner. So injectables and topicals.
Okay. Art?
Yeah, I think, again, it's important. I wish there was a simple answer, but I think the answer is it depends on the degree of your problem. And I think it depends on where you're coming from, too, and the segment of anti-aging consumer that you are. A polymer solution, a gel that tightens up a little bit, is the perfect solution for women in their 20s, 30s that are just starting to see lines and wrinkles. They may decide if it's more of a concern for them to go and have a procedure. Certainly as women get into their 40s and 50s, there's only so much a topical product can do instantly, but there may be some women that's enough for, just that deep moisturization, that plumping, some of those polymers, some of those optical effects may get them where they need, but I think then they're more likely to go seek out some of the procedures that Dr. Beer describes. The thing that I want to reinforce the most is I think we think about the continuum of benefit from light to heavy, but I also really want to reinforce that there's another dimension of the consumer, her expectation, and her needs and what satisfies her. And one consumer who may be satisfied with an instant topical product, another consumer may have the same level of need, but really want to go and have a derm office procedure done.
Sure. Discoloration and pigment, what are your best quick fixes?
For me, the best quick fix is either a salicylic acid peel, and we do several of those staggered across a few weeks, and we use an intense pulse light, which is a type of broadband light that's just short of a laser, and that tends to be absorbed by different pigment. The pigment then cycles through. I have a skin brightener that I use with botanical extracts, and that's done very well. So between the two, we tend to do very well with pigment disorders. The hydroquinones, the prescription strength products that still are popular, are becoming more and more problematic because there's all kinds of regulatory issues about them. In the aesthetic world, sometimes they filter in as over-the-counter even though they're prescription strength. So you'll see them from time to time. I still like them, but a lot of people are starting to be afraid of them. So for me, immediate gratification is topical with the Gigabright products and Swiss Botanicals, and then peels and or laser.
Okay. Art?
I think it's interesting. We talked a little bit earlier about how brightening and evenness of pigmentation is sort of the new description of aging. It was lines and wrinkles, and now it's more evenness of tone. But if you think about it, that's really just another way of talking about your complexion. And women have been using good foundations for years to do what? To really even out the pigmentation problems that they have naturally. So I don't want to underestimate a great makeup in terms of a short-term fix for pigmentation. It's a great solution. The mineral makeups, the liquid makeups, it's a big business for us, and we're very focused on now starting to add the right skincare benefits to those as well. But again, there's certainly procedures that'll give you instant benefits that'll last, versus a cosmetic that gives you an instant benefit that obviously doesn't last. But again, I think there's always room for the two to synergistically work together.
Okay, and for skin texture?
Again, there's wonderful products that are going to deliver, a wonderful day of skin texture for you while you're waiting for those longer term benefits to kick in. Some of the new silicones now that we're working with, I tried something the other day that we're going to be building into a new Provage product that had the most amazing instant textural feel that I've ever experienced. It's and blend of silicones that gives you an amazing textural feel. And again, I think you want to have that short-term win while you're waiting for the long-term benefits to kick in. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that sort of cosmetic benefit.
No, power of makeup is unbelievable.
Exactly. All you have to do is look at the celebrities without makeup shots
Sure.
that you see sometimes.
Sure. And Dr. Beer?
I use a lot of squalene, I use hyaluronic acid, and I use other things to make the skin a little bit more hydrated. And then in the office, we use a lot of fractional resurfacing, which involves lasers that remove little pixels of skin, creating new skin growth and new collagen. And once we start to do that, you tend to see a lot more textural improvement. In a spa environment, we would use light chemical peels combined with products, and we see a lot of immediate gratification with those combinations.
Okay. So in your opinion, what would you say is the biggest advancement recently in the world of beauty that has concrete validation behind it that actually gives an instant result to the patient or the consumer?
I think the biggest instant thing that is out there now from the doctor's point of view are the injectables. The biggest thing that you're going to see in the near future are topical Botox, and some of the topical things that we now inject are in the development process, and you'll see them in the next year so that we can apply them as creams. That's really revolutionary. For instant gratification in the spa, I've seen some amazing things with nanoparticles that deliver things deep into the skin. I've seen amazing formulations with hyaluronic acid, and I've seen amazing things with the antioxidants. Provage is one of them, but certainly there are several others, and combining them have really made a significant difference.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a huge demand for things that are more available, that have tremendous instant results. I mean, just like teeth whitening went from the dentist's office to the home, certainly there's going to be procedural stuff like Botox and injectables that you're going to start to see available in more easily accessible formats. But I think this demand is also going to force some of the polymer manufacturers and some of the other topical manufacturers to find ways of achieving similar benefits without the long regulatory processes. And it's going to be a little bit more mechanical, and it may not be as big a benefit or as long-term a benefit. But I think the advances we're seeing in polymers and nanoparticles and delivery systems that get deeper into the skin, manufacturers are going to be forced to look at filling that gap. As the RX stuff comes sort of downstream, we're going to be forced to push the more cosmetic stuff upstream.
So the quest for instant results really isn't going anywhere. Everyone still wants that quick fix.
I think that no matter where it goes, everybody's going to want a quicker fix and a better fix. So that's what makes it fun for me, at least. I love to see what's next, and I love to be involved in that. And that's what my patients want. That they want whatever is faster, better, quicker, fixer.
Yeah, I think there's always going to be the quest for instant results. And I think the combination of a little bit of topical, a little bit of procedure, consumers have more of a menu now at their disposal. Sure. To get just the right amount of quick fix for them.